Well, howdy everybody, welcome to the show where this week we're down in deep South Texas between Ensenal and Laredo in the Texas brush country, and we'll be featuring Cactus Country Whitetails. The whitetail deer is America's favorite big game animal, and whitetail deer farming is the fastest growing segment in the American agriculture industry. Our program's mission is to dive into the world of deer farming and discover why tens of thousands of Americans compete to create the biggest bucks in the world. And by the biggest bucks, we don't just mean the size of the antlers. The financial investment opportunities produced even on small parcels of rural land will blow you away. Join me as we discover how whitetail genetics, deer auctions, animal husbandry, and so much more drive the deer farming industry. My name is Keith Warren, and this is Deer and Wildlife Stories. So every deer farmer that I know of is an animal lover, and specifically they love deer, but Dr. Leyendecker, I think she loves every animal.
Hi, my name is Dr. Sandra Leyendecker. I'm a veterinarian and owner of Critter Care Veterinary Clinic and co-owner of Cactus Country Deer. And we're located here in Ensenal, Texas. We have about 30 acres worth of deer pens. We have probably between 200 and 250 whitetail deer at any given time, including fawns. Our pen sizes vary between probably just a hair under an acre to 5 acres. We usually have 2 pens per group of deer so that way we can rest. We try to keep green for the deer to eat at all times. Keeps them happy, keeps them comfortable, looks nice, you know, and I think it's all around healthier for the deer to have some vegetation for them to eat.
A couple of things that are interesting about coming to Cactus Country Whitetails. Number one, that it's run by a female, okay? And Dr. Leyendecker is, she's also a veterinarian. And so that's 2 special things down here. You know, females, I think that women make great deer farmers because they're animal husbandry. They love animals and they tend to them in a great way. As far as being a veterinarian, I mean, Dr. Leyendecker, she's known throughout this entire area for being the person to call if you have any problem with any animal. So when you start talking about Dr. Leyendecker and deer, her real passion is whitetail deer. These are 1-year-olds in this pen, right?
Yes, sir.
And the thing that amazes me, just looking at your pens, first off, they're big and spacious, and I love the mesquite. I love the ability for the deer to be able to get in there, and they got a lot of shade and a lot of cover.
Yes, sir.
So my first impression when I see them, they're typical.
Yes, sir.
I mean, the thing that a lot of places I go to, there's a lot of deer that are non-typical, even at 1 year old.
Yes, sir.
And so tell everybody what your strategy is as far as the look of the deer.
Well, we just like typical. That's what we wanted. That's what we got because we originally got this into improving what we had out here, and that's what we liked. And people started liking what we liked, and they started buying our deer, and we just kind of kept growing.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of people that wind up getting tied up in the score. What's he score? What's he score? And they kind of give up on the look. But I mean, these guys are little, but they're pretty. They're little typical frames. That one right there's a good one.
Yes, sir.
And that one right there's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, the thing about it is they've all got great pedigrees, don't they?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so tell everybody about these pedigrees. Are they in the North American Deer Registry, and if so, why?
All of them are in the North American Deer Registry, and we register our deer so that we know what their bloodlines are. It helps us to determine what cross is good with what, and helps us to produce kind of our end point, which would be a tall, wide, heavy, clean, typical.
Yeah, so it helps you make better breeding decisions.
Exactly,
basically.
exactly.
And the exciting thing, we're going to tell you about this later in the show, is we're going to tell you that North American Deer Registry also now is providing testing for chronic wasting disease as far as susceptibility goes.
Yes, sir.
And that right there, to me, is groundbreaking as far as deer in general, whether you're a deer hunter or whether you're a deer farmer. That is groundbreaking. But these yearlings right here, they look beautiful. We're going to be showing you a whole lot more pretty deer in just a minute. Deer and Wildlife Stories is brought to you by MVP Whitetails, Dr. Ray Favero's Whitetail Genetics, UVC Power Sports Tractors and Outdoors, and Vandergrift Toyota in Arlington, Texas. Now it's time for viewer feedback. All right, so this comes off of Facebook Messenger from a guy by the name of Milo. So if you're on Facebook, get on Messenger and shoot me a comment or whatever. It says, I've watched every one of your deer farming shows on your YouTube channel and I love them. The big thing I notice is the lack of clean, typical looking deer. I personally don't like those non-typical racks. Why do so many farms have these non-typicals? The reason why a lot of them have non-typicals is the fact that they bred wrong. Okay, what I mean by that, they didn't keep with clean, typical genetics. And when you wind up start introducing non-typical genetics, you're gonna get non-typical genetics down the road. And once you get non-typical genetics, it's really, really hard to breed that out. So it's for that reason, people like Dr. Leyendecker choose to breed consistently over and over again with clean, typical genetics. And that's a great question. So if y'all have a question, head on over to Facebook and you can send me one on Facebook Messenger, or you can get a hold of me with an email on our website. Deer and Wildlife Stories, we'll be right back. Okay, so you've got property and you're wanting to build, maybe a barn dominium, maybe deer facilities, or maybe a badass lodge. Well, you've got to check out Rafter P Construction, the leading design build contractor across the state of Texas. Specializing in quality farm and ranch projects, Rafter P Construction encourages their customers to be very hands-on. Rafter P Construction will be with you every step of the way to make your one-of-a-kind build a reality. So it comes as no surprise to me is where they get the milk from to feed the fawns.
We're very fortunate. We've got about 15 to 20 goats that we milk on a daily basis, twice a year. And we're very fortunate to have this fresh milk so we can bottle feed our baby deer.
So on this particular farm, Dr. Leyendecker can't run it by herself. Donnie is here to help, and he's here all day, every day, taking care of every single chore that needs to be done. Come here, come here, come here. Yeah. All right, so quit it. Okay, quit it. All right. You rolling? All right, so everywhere you look around here, I mean, Dr. Leyendecker's got critters. What? I mean, she's got a squirrel in the kitchen. She's got peacocks and chickens and dogs. But she loves deer. All right, so these are 2-year-olds in here, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and as you can tell, these are just a bigger version of the 1-year-olds we showed you. Now, address the fact that that typical deer just don't get as big as non-typical deer.
No, they don't. And you know, when you're trying to compare a yearling or a 2-year-old typical to a yearling or a 2-year-old non-typical, it's like comparing apples and oranges. You can't. And they're never going to be as big because they're not going to be as big when they're full grown. Yeah. You know.
Well, I mean, when you look at these guys, that's a pretty one there, and
yes, sir.
and boy, I really like his look right there. And when do you make a decision as far as breeding goes? Okay, when are you going to put one in the breeding program?
For us?
Yep.
He's got to be bigger, wider, taller, heavier, with the right pedigree than the one where you're breeding now.
So all these guys are 2.
Mm-hmm.
You separate your deer out, you sort them out according to ages then, huh?
That's correct, yes, sir.
So your yearling bucks are in one pen, and your 2-year-olds, if you have 2 pens of them, okay, you can have 2-year-olds all together and 3-year-olds. Do you put an older buck in with those younger bucks to kind of keep the peace?
No, sir.
You don't?
No, in fact, we leave our breeding bucks with the does that they bred. We do not take our bucks out and put them all together at the end of the breeding season.
Really? What's the strategy there?
They're comfortable, they're happy, they're used to the pen they're in. You know, you have to knock them down, or I guess we don't have a facility, so we knock them down. That's one less time you have to knock them down, and we just haven't had a problem.
Okay. All right, so with that being said, what we're going to do, most people don't breed yearlings.
That's correct.
But you do.
Yes, absolutely.
I do, and the reason why people breed yearlings, they believe in their genetics. Okay?
That's correct.
And Dr. Leyendecker believes in her genetics so much so that we're going to show you a deer by the name of Bad Boy, and you're going to see why she bred him. So Dr. Leyendecker winds up doing something that most deer breeders don't do. and she breeds yearling bucks. And this buck right here, take a look at him right there. I mean, that buck is unbelievable. Tell everybody who that is, how old he is, and why you decided to breed him when you bred him.
Bad Boy is a 2-year-old. He's got the right genetics. He has the right look. He was basically a lot larger than all the other yearlings that we had. He had the right genetics.
He was born here?
Yes, sir, born here. And we thought, well, you know, let's take a chance. We got to see what he's going to produce. You know, we bred, I think, about 10 does to him.
And so these does in this pen here and these fawns are out of Bad Boy?
Most of them are. We have some deer that we had purchased and we put them in with him since there were so few deer in here, but
okay.
10 of those does are bred to him.
Okay. All right, so I think the cool thing about that is, now pay close attention. When you wind up breeding a yearling buck, rather than wait until he's older, you get offspring on the ground. And they're fawns when they're 2, like Bad Boy. Okay, and he's beautiful. I mean, look at his conformation. He's beautiful. Okay, but those fawns on the ground, when he's 3, those fawns are going to be yearlings.
That's right.
And when they're yearlings, that's when you're going to be able to look at those yearlings and go, did he get it done? Okay?
Yes.
And the thing is, on making money in the deer breeding business, you want to breed with, yes, does that get it done, but bucks that get it done. And so when you wind up breeding a yearling buck that you believe in, and you've got a philosophy, you've got a criteria that you want to breed, when these are yearlings, you're going to be able to tell whether you made the right decision or not.
Early on, yes.
Okay, so after the break, we're going to tell you about chronic wasting disease and this new test that is available through NADAR that tells us the susceptibility of these animals and helps us with these breeding decisions to be able to breed CWD completely out of the white-tailed deer. Deer and Wildlife Stories is brought to you by Vara Ranch, LE Fence, Record Rack Deer and Elk Feeds, Massey Ferguson Tractors at UVC Power Sports, and by New Dart. Deer and Wildlife Stories will be right back. Closed captioning is brought to you by Advanced Deer Genetics. All right, so these guys are 3-year-olds?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I love your pens. I love the fact that they have so much mesquite, so much cover for them, and the deer feel like deer.
Yes, sir.
I mean, they're beautiful. Golly, and they're all nice, pretty, typical deer. I love that guy right there.
Yes, sir.
Now, earlier in the show, we talked to you about CWD susceptibility and the NADAR testing that allows us to be able to breed towards getting a resistant deer to CWD.
Yes, sir.
Think how cool that is, because the only place that this could be done is a deer farm.
Yes, sir.
It could not be done if you're a deer hunter, a deer lover, or a deer farmer. You need to realize that a deer farm is the best place to do research on white-tailed deer.
Sure.
Because we have to know everything about these deer, okay, and we watch them every day of our lives. So tell everybody about your opinion, how this new CWD susceptibility test is going to help us out in the deer industry.
Well, I think we're going to need to do that to be able to survive some of the stuff that is put in front of us right now.
The regulations is what she's talking
yes, sir.
about.
Yes, sir. Because if, say, our farm, we can advertise saying our deer are genetically resistant to CWD, you know, I think that's going to help the breeder with marketing, with resistance. I think the public view will be of it. I think, too, you'll have some of the regulatory agencies will be looking toward that, maybe hopefully wanting to partake and participate and stuff like that, and I think that will maybe help ease some of the tensions.
I think that it's so cool that, you know, we talk about, I mean, COVID's been such a big issue now in the United States for so long, and they always talk about science being what's going to get us out of the COVID deal. Well, truly, as a deer breeder, we know science is going to get us out of the chronic wasting disease issue. And as we look at these 3-year-olds, are all these guys, are they all in the registry?
Some of them are, but both their parents are. Their sire and their dam is. And then if they have sisters, we send NADAR on the sisters, because if they go for stalkers or something, then, you know, people may not necessarily need that NADAR information, but it's available to them if they want it.
Okay, so let's talk about the final destination of these deer. Some of these deer, you heard her mention stalkers, okay? And tell briefly what a stalker is.
A stalker is a deer that people are going to purchase to release on their ranch or farm.
And why would they do that?
To improve the genetics on their property.
Yeah, and at some point you may think, well, they're gonna hunt them. Yep, they're gonna hunt them, absolutely. And we're not hiding that. It's just that, you know, a lot of these people will, when we wind up releasing deer, a lot of us wind up leaving the tags in the ears. So,
that's correct.
So the people know, okay, that one's off limits. We don't want to shoot that one. We want to let that one stay here for a few years and put those great genetics, because look at these guys, they're beautiful. So if somebody wants more information, give them a phone number.
Donnie Frege at 956-744-0774.
When we get back from the break, we're going to show you a 5-year-old buck that when I saw him, I went, wow, because this 5-year-old has got it all. Deer and Wildlife Stories is brought to you by Maloof Whitetails, the North American Deer Registry, New Dart, and Whitetails of Louisiana. Now some great information on fencing from our friends at LE Fence.
All right, hey guys, this is Ron with LE Fence. Back here, we're getting ready to stretch some net wire so we can get it put up before call it quits for the evening. So right here, we've laid out the net wire on the ground, attach it to our stretcher bar, and then we stood up some of our fence down the line so that when we pull it, it's already kind of standing upright. So now when we hook it up to our tractor and start pulling back, we start going until we get some good resistance on this net wire. Don't want to be too tight as we're working in some deer pins. You don't want a deer or a good buck running into it, breaking the neck or getting his antlers stuck in the fence. So we keep a little bit of play in it, not much, just a little bit. And then after we get some good tension on it, we're gonna go ahead and start doing what we did over here on the gates, and we're gonna cut one strand at a time, and we're gonna cut off the stays and then tie the wire back around the pipe. And then we'll be done with this portion of the fence. All we got left to do are some gates. So we're gonna turn this one big deer pin into 2 little deer pins, and good to go. Thanks, guys.
We're fixing to show you a buck, and he is absolutely beautiful. And you're going to look at him and think his name is pretty fitting. Tell him his name.
His name is Handsome Dreamer.
I mean, so tell everybody about him. I mean, I want to know how old he is, and was he born here? Tell me all about him.
He's a 5-year-old. We were out looking, as we started to grow, shopping for a nice, typical breeder buck. We went to Teresa McComas, and we said, well, what do you have that's a yearling? And we could afford, so we looked at the yearlings, and I said, okay, I like that one. Yeah, and he was perfect dream out of a doe that they have called Tia.
So you bought him as a yearling?
We bought him as a yearling.
Okay.
And we thought, well, we need to breed some does because, you know, well, first of all, you are a deer breeder, you know that they can turn around and crash the fence and break their neck in the blink of an eye.
Yep.
And it always happens to your best ones, of course you know that.
Yep.
And so we thought we'd get some deer, and then it also gave us a chance, while he's still young, you know, he's 5. He's 5 years old.
Really? He's in great shape. Look at him.
And we bred 20 does to him this year.
Really?
All live cover, no AI.
And look how big he is. He didn't go backwards at all.
No, sir, he did not. No, sir, he did not. And
so let me ask you, so he's 5, so you've got multiple years of production on the ground out of him.
Yes, sir.
So a lot of the deer that we've been seeing on today's show, the 1s and 2s and 3-year-olds, are out of him.
We haven't had a dink out of him. At 3 years old, all of them have been over 200.
Really? Well, he is absolutely beautiful. I mean, that deer right there, he's got the whole package.
And he's a producer, so that's important. It's not just having a big deer, can he produce?
Okay, and so I think, you know, I tell people all the time, younger deer on a deer farm are the better genetics than the older deer. You bought him as a yearling, okay? And although you couldn't afford one of the 2-year-olds or the 3-year-olds, and Teresa had some unbelievable deer.
Yes, she did.
Okay, and but genetically, he's got it. And as a yearling, you really, I mean, you got lucky.
We hit the jackpot.
Yeah, you hit the jackpot with him. Okay, so do you have semen available on him?
Yes, sir, we do.
So you will sell semen?
Yes, sir.
And you're selling offspring out of him?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what was it that made you want to get into deer breeding?
I just love it. You know, it started off to improve what we had out here. You know, I bought the place in 2003, actually 2002, moved out in 2003, and it was pretty shot up, pretty, poached out, and there was nothing. We had a few big deer, but there wasn't that much. And I mean, when I say big, I'm talking big by the old standards. 150 class buck was like, that was the biggest. Back in those days, was a giant.
And
that was
look
the biggest
what we've done. Look what we've done as deer breeders. And when people say, well, I mean, there are people that say, well, you've got to be using drugs. It's like, no, they're jacked up on genetics is what I tell them.
Exactly.
I mean, we're stacking them with genetics.
Just like a good racehorse.
Yes.
It's just like a good racehorse, They've been line bred or bred from the fastest stallions and the fastest mares and the bloodlines and over years and years of genetics. And we've been doing this on whitetail deer, 40, 45 years? I don't know when the first blew, maybe 50 years.
And so look, I mean, when we're raising deer like this, if you've never been to a deer farm, I encourage you to come to one, because it's going to blow your mind. You're going to find out that, you know what, you think you know a lot as a deer hunter. I think deer hunters just forget it, because you're going to learn so much by coming to a deer farm and just looking, just watching, and asking questions, and seeing deer like that deer right there. That one right there is unbelievable.
Yes,
Kate,
sir.
well, I want to tell you thank you for having us down here. I mean, this is it's one of the best things about my job is getting to go to new deer farms. Okay, and this is the first time we've been here. And so as I look at your deer and I look at the pens, I think it's nice. I mean, I want to thank you very much for having us out.
Yes, sir.
And I want to thank y'all for watching. And if you want to contact Dr. Leyendecker, you can give her a call, or we'll have a direct link off of our website over to her site. If you're watching online, you got any kind of questions whatsoever, go ahead and post them below, and we'll get back with you. And if you're not watching online, head on over to our YouTube channel, where every one of our shows plays 24/7, commercial free. And make sure to subscribe while you're there. I'm Keith Warren, and thanks for watching.